Let's go ahead and pick up where we left off with Module 3, Lesson 2. We had just finished Problem A, so let's go ahead and do the others. And you'll notice that several of these in the remainder of this section are from Module 2, and we've already done them. So I'm going to kind of breeze through them because you've already had them on your test. But I do want to cover them because they are an important part of this section as well. So we learned in Module 2, this 3/5 means 3 copies of 1/5. So if we take a rectangle, and remember the denominator tells us how many pieces. So each piece is 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, and 5/5 make a whole. Because remember up here they told us use the rectangle to designate the whole. So 3/5 means 3 copies of 1/5, which means we need to shade 3 out of the 5 boxes. So that's 1, 2, 3 copies of 1/5. And this would be the sentence that you would write on the test. And it does ask you for a full sentence. So make sure you have a verb in it, you have a period, and so on. So 3/5, 3 copies of 1/5, 3 of the 5 are shaded. Next, we have 4/3. And does everybody remember 3/3 equals 1? So 4/3 is over 1. So do you agree I'm going to need 2 rectangles? 4/3 means 4 copies of 1/3. Set up 2 rectangles. And that's because 4/3 is 1 and 1/3. But even if you didn't know that, you should know it's over 1, which tells you to make 2 rectangles. Remember, the denominator tells you how many boxes, so there should be 3 boxes in each rectangle. Each box represents 1/3. And because 4/3 means 4 copies of 1/3, we're going to shade 4 of those 1/3. So 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 is 4/3. Or you could say 1/3 times 4 is 4/3. The next one is also over 1. So the first thing I did was divide. So I said, 9/4 means 4 into 9, which is 2 1/4. So what that tells me is I need 3 rectangles on this because this is more than 2, but it's less than 3. So the first thing I did was draw 3 rectangles. And the denominator of the fraction tells me to divide each rectangle into 4 equal pieces. And notice all my rectangles are the same size. They do need to be the same size, each one. And they should all be cut into 4 pieces because the denominator tells you that. So each piece is 1/4. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, 9 times is 9/4. Or you could say 1/4 times 9 is 9/4. So this is 9/4 means 9 copies. See my 9 copies of 1/4. And again, you might want to do this at the beginning so you know how many rectangles to make. Since it's over 2, that's why I made 3 rectangles, but they all have to be divided equally. They can't be divided differently. So they're all divided into fourths. And then I shaded in 9 copies of 1/4 because each box represents a fourth. Okay, next page. This next page is so fun. I'm sad that you guys don't get to do this in class, but maybe another time. I started on a couple because I wanted you to see the chips laid out. So let me get these out of the way. So if you look at this paper, it says now we're using, these are called Cuisenaire rods. We're using Cuisenaire rods to represent the whole. So this is the whole right here. Instead of a red circle, now this represents 1. So anything shorter than it is going to be less than 1. Anything longer than it is going to be greater than 1. So using this as the whole, it wants to know, what does a blue piece represent? Well, I see 2 blues make a whole. And remember doing this with the circle? 2 pinks made a whole. So that means each piece is 1/2. And then it wants to know about dark green. So I got the dark green here ready. So we can see here that 3 dark greens make a whole. So that means 1 dark green will be 1/3. And then next we have light green. I have them set here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 greens make a whole. That means 1 light green will be 1/6 of the whole. Okay, here we go. Now we need red. Red or little. We're going to take a lot of these. So how many reds make a whole? Looks like that's a whole, right? About the same length. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 reds make a whole. That means that 1 red is 1/9. And last we have white. I'm not going to put white all the way in. I'm just going to put it on 1, just for time's sake. So do you see how 2 whites make a red? So to get the whole unit, it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So does everybody agree it would be 18 whites make a whole? Since there's 9 reds and 2 whites make a red, that means 18 whites make a whole. Let's move this up a tad bit. That means each white is 1/18. Okay, 2 dark green pieces represent what fraction? Well, we said 1 dark green piece. Let's move this up. So right here we said 1 dark green piece is 1/3. So that means 1/3 plus 1/3 would be 2/3 of the whole. And you can see that in the picture, 1, 2, 3. So 2 dark green pieces would be 2 out of the 3 pieces it makes to make a whole. Now we have 3 light green pieces. So 3 light green pieces. 1, 2, 3. Do you see how that's equal to the blue? So 3 light green pieces is equal to a blue, and we know blue is 1/2. So that means 3 light green pieces. Another thing you can think of it as is 3 out of 6. So 3 out of 6 is equal to, notice they have 3 in common. So divide by 3, divide by 3. So that would be 1/2. And doesn't that match up to what we just said? 3 light green pieces. Isn't that equal to 1/2 the picture? You can see it's equal to the blue. And that's what we had. So 2 different ways to find that answer. So you can look at it and see that 3 light green pieces equal a blue. And we can look above and see the blue's a half. Or you can say 3 light green are 3 out of 6, which make a whole. And that simplifies to 1/2. 4/9 using rods that are all the same color. So let's look up here and see what rod is a 9th. Red. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we would use 4 copies of 1/9, right? And according to this piece, 1/9 is red. So that would mean 4 red rods. So does everybody see that transition from math words to math? So 4/9 means 4 copies of 1/9, but up above we said 1/9 was red, so that would be 4 copies of the red rod, 4 red rods. Are there other ways to represent 4/9? So besides, so this is how long we need it to be. So look at what if we had 2, whoops, I got to get in the picture. So this is 4/9. What if we had 2 light greens and a red? Wouldn't that be 4/9? Because these 2 light greens are 3 plus a red. So 2 light greens plus this red, because this is all we're looking at, is what's the same length as 4/9. So I see these 2 plus that, or how about a dark green plus that? Or how about whites underneath? 2, 4, 6, 8 whites. So wow, that's 3 different ways we just came up with. So 2 light greens plus a red, 1 dark green plus a red, or 2, 4, 6, 8 whites. So let's write that in. So 4/9 could be 3 light green. No, it was 2 light green, wasn't it? Let's go back up here. 2, 3, 4. So 2 light green plus a red. Yep. So 2 light. Sorry about that. That's a terrible 2, isn't it? Green plus 1 red. Then we also said, so here's our desired length. What else is 4/9? Well, this dark green plus 1 red would be 4/9. So 1 dark green plus 1 red. So they want all the different things that equal 4/9. So here's our 4/9, 4 reds, 2 light greens and a red, a dark green and a red, and then the last thing we said were whites. Because remember, every red block is 2 whites. So 2 whites, 2 whites, 2 whites, 2 whites. That would be 8 whites. And then we'll say, and 8 white blocks. So maybe we should say or. So 4/9 could be 2 light green and 1 red, 1 dark green. Oh, jeepers. Did you guys see me do that? Greed. 1 dark green plus 1 red, or 8 white blocks. Okay, this one will be good for you. This is right out of your last chapter. 7, 6. We'll start our next video.